Now, Georgia also passed a hate crime bill, which allows enhanced criminal penalties for people who target others because of their race, gender, orientation, which is going to sexual orientation, or other reasons. Georgia was one of 4 states without a hate crime law. Now, judges imposing sentences can increase punishment against those who target victims based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, mental disability, physical disability. So now there is hate crime legislation on the books in Georgia. Now, I haven't read the official statute or see what it looks like. I tend to have an issue with laws that can be applied sort of arbitrarily, and something like this is very difficult to prove. It's difficult to prove whether or not somebody is acting on a racist basis. Now, you can presume it. You can come to a lot of conclusions. The fact that one of the McMichaels, said effing N-word as Ahmaud was laying on the ground dying, that's a pretty good indicator to me that this was something that had a racial component to it. So when you have facts like that, it's pretty clear. But if we did not have facts like that, so let's take that little key nugget out of there, how do you determine that this is a racial thing or not? I thought it was my perspective on this thing was it was a bad police officer, lunatic, roving civilian psychotics going out there and trying to be, little dictators in their own neighborhood. It was a police problem, not necessarily a racial problem. And all of the racial talk was just fanning the flames of racial tension when really this was a police problem and a prosecutor problem and a judge problem. But then it transformed into this racial problem. So I understand that there's racial issues throughout the country. There's no question about that. But the issue is what happens to defendants, people charged with crimes, when suddenly everything becomes a hate crime? What if the victim of a crime just happens to be black or gay or whatever's going on, transgendered or, physical disabilities or from a different country or any of those things? It's really broad. Race, color, national origin, religion, physical disability. I mean, now we've got this opens up a huge can of worms. We've got a whole other set of laws and defenses. And now we have to argue whether or not we can prove that or disprove that, or somebody, hit somebody in the face and they're going to say, it's because I'm a Jew. I'm Jewish and he hit me in the face. I'm a Jew. This is a hate crime. Well, no, you were just being a jerk and you got hit in the face because you're being a jerk. But now everything has that additional component. Everybody's going to want to claim hate crime status. It's going to complicate the criminal legal world that much further. And what I think is going to probably end up happening is this is going to backfire. This is going to be something that is used against more people. Most of the people who are going through the criminal justice system who are in prison and in jails are disproportionately minorities. So if you've got that, going on, and now you've got these additional sentencing enhancements where you can give them an additional couple years or 4 years or increased penalties at the time of sentencing, this becomes, just another thing to punish people for. There are certain situations, obviously, where the sentence should be aggravated, which we already have laws on the book for that. We've got a presumptive sentence. We've got what's called a mitigated sentence, which is lower. We've got a minimum sentence, which is lower. We've got a maximum sentence, which is higher. We've got an aggravated sentence, which is higher. So you can include those things in the judge's determination on sentencing, but by just creating whole new bodies of law that we don't really know what the unintended consequences are going to be, and now this opens the door for everything, and every single victim of every crime now becomes the victim of a hate crime. And now we have to prove or disprove that in addition to the underlying offense. So in Arbery's case, not only do you have to prove that they chased down and hunted this guy and that there was no citizen's arrest statute and it wasn't self-defense and all of these other things, but now they got to go show that this also wasn't a hate crime. So it's just a whole different thing. In addition to proving those underlying elements, they got to prove something else. Now in that case, sounds to me pretty justified. If he did say those things, which is what the Georgia version of the FBI found, that's cause for aggravating his sentence. He acted with malice. He wanted to kill him, and he did so in part because he was a black guy. That's malice. That requires some aggravation, certainly. But does it justify having a whole new set of hate crime laws? We'll see. I think we're going to see more of these, but we don't really know how they're going to be implemented and what the repercussions are going to be. from my perspective, it's going to be more fuel, more tools to oppress more people who are going through the criminal justice system. Some of them are going to deserve it, no doubt. But what happens when this is unequally applied or applied with bias against the very people that the law was intended to help? So we're going to see, we're going to look into that. We're going to follow along. Arizona doesn't have anything like that thus far, but I know a lot of other countries do. And, this also brings up some pretty interesting constitutional, issues. We talk about hate crimes and we talk about hate speech. They're getting close to one another. A hate crime and a hate speech, which many of it, now we're talking about First Amendment issues, Constitution issues. I mean, this stuff gets messy very quickly. So we're going to see. We'll see what happens in Georgia. We'll see how the prosecutors use this. We'll see how it is being, disseminated across all of the different courts and prosecutors' offices and courtrooms, and how the judges respond to it and how they use it. And then we'll be able to see. But I'm all for solutions. This looks like a solution. This looks like it's moving the ball in the right direction because we're talking about these issues. And so that's the update on Ahmaud Arbery. We've got, some good news there. Those guys were indicted, and it looks like Georgia is moving the ball forward. So good stuff on that.